Hello, everyone, and welcome to Meow Mix, the Carolina Panthers podcast. My name is Steven.
My name is Jerry.
And we are here to discuss a lot of news and a little bit of Week 11.
Yeah,
Carolina Panthers hosting the Dallas Cowboys.
I feel like if you're listening to this podcast to really get hyped for the Dallas Cowboys game, you might want to go ahead and turn it off. I know that's going to kill our YouTube views for the Dallas Cowboys fans, but
the
guys,
Panthers are doing a good enough job at
I'm going to
themselves.
spoil my prediction. The Cowboys are going to win. I hate saying that, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in the past, this has been the type of game that crappy Panthers teams would win. Just because, just to ruin draft position, right? But there's no reason to ruin draft position because we don't have a first round draft pick. So I fully expect the Panthers to lose this game as well. We will talk about it. We will get into the game a little bit later, but there's some kind of big news that's dropped over the last 36 hours or so. Okay.
But before that, we do have a fan email. I want to kick it off with something kind of positive.
Yes,
since the Panthers are...
Since the rest of this episode is going to be very negative.
We got an email from Patrick. He said, "Thank you guys so much for providing me good information about my Panthers, a team that I can't see often because he lives in Illinois. I was at the Bears and Panthers game recently, and I wanted to share my experience in hopes that you guys could share it with others. There was tons of Panthers fans and much more than I expected. The rally towels they gave out were with the Bears logo in Panthers colors. It was amazing to see Emir Smith-Marset dodge through defenders to score that punt return, which silenced the crowd, but definitely didn't silence me and the other Panthers fans in my sections. Thank you guys for providing my favorite podcast. I really enjoy it each and every week, and I hope you guys can share my story and continue making the podcast I love." Well, thank you, Patrick. First of all, yes. I do want to say, I think the Panthers have a very solid fan base. Now, with that being said, the past 5 years or so has really hurt the fan. I mean, you and I are prime examples of diehard Panther fans that are struggling to support the team now.
Yeah, imagine. Look, Charlotte in particular is a really good sports town. I mean, look at, in the 80s and 90s, the Hornets would sell out every game for years.
And
led the league in attendance for years. No, never won a championship, never went really deep into the playoffs, but had a massive support. And it was the same with the Panthers early on. For the first decade and plus. I mean, every week was a sellout, just supporting the team. But man, at some point, you got to get something back from your team, from your organization. And for the last, really since the Super Bowl, the Panthers have just been struggling to find an identity, gone through ownership changes, 5 head coaches if you count interims, 3 GMs, and probably going to go through more change after this season. So
hopefully
it is tough. And, multiple quarterbacks and trading away your best players, it doesn't lend itself to keeping the fans engaged. It doesn't lend itself to winning, which helps keep the fans engaged. There's nobody to root for anymore. Our favorites are gone. I mean, they've done everything they can not to do right by Brian Burns to keep him around.
Exactly.
Kind of the last face of the franchise, if you don't count Bryce Young. I mean, I don't know what is there to root for if you're a Charlotte sports fan right now.
I mean, if you're let's be honest, a 10, 11-year-old starting to watch football for, yes, your dad probably, or your parents had it on TV and stuff, and you watched it, but you didn't pay attention, and now you're starting to get into that age where you're paying attention and stuff like that. What has that fan had to cheer for? Christian McCaffrey? I mean, and then he's gone. And first of all, I am so glad Christian McCaffrey is not here now. as a big Christian McCaffrey fan, I cannot stand him being in a Frank Reich offense like this. I would be so upset.
I mean, the team might be slightly better if he was here, but he'd probably be hurt because they'd just be running him into the ground, right? And they can't block for him.
They would 1st and 10 every time, because guys expect that again. I'll just news about we're gonna go over the news. So.
Well, but thank you for the email, and it's nice to get those. We've gotten a lot of really supportive emails, messages, DMs. People just at work. Like I get people. We get people telling us how much they appreciate us doing the podcast, and it kind of at this point is the only thing that's kind of keeping me. I'll just speak for myself. That's keeping me going and doing it, because it at this point kind of feels like a job.
Yeah.
Because it's just not. I love talking to Jerry. I talk to Jerry all the time. And I will continue to talk to Jerry even if this podcast one day goes away. But talking about the Panthers twice a week, in this format is difficult right now because it's not fun. There's not a lot of good things to say, and I hate being negative all the time. But there's not a lot of positive to say. So these emails, these messages, they help keep us going, and they let us know that we're not the only ones struggling, and that what we are doing is at least providing some enjoyment to somebody. And that's worth it. That's worth it to keep going.
I mean, sometimes it's nice and therapeutic to, be in like a abusive relationship support group that we are in. I mean,
sure, yeah. Then we'll never leave that relationship,
no.
no matter how abusive it gets, unfortunately.
But if you're in a serious abusive relationship, where please seek help.
don't reach out to us, because we are not the ones. But there are people that you can reach out to.
Yes, please.
Reach out to us. Let us know. Yeah. We'll read it on the air. We'll talk about it if you want us to. If you don't want us to, that's fine too. We get plenty of those as well. So, we appreciate it, guys.
Yeah.
Really
and Patrick, I'm glad you got to see one great play from the Panthers, because that was a spectacular return.
It was a great play, and just you were talking about it, and I was sort of smiling thinking about it, because we don't get to see that a lot. We don't get to see punt return touchdowns. That's just never something that this modern Panthers team has done.
No,
they don't invest in that position, and they don't. Special teams return game has never been good, so. It was nice to see.
Michael Bates and Steve Smith.
Right. All right. News, Jerry. Number one bullet here is we suck.
Yeah, so that's just gonna stay up
keep
top.
Keep reminding us of that. I'm gonna do an audible here, and let's get the big news out of the way. All right. The Panthers, Frank Reich, head coach, has now decided to yank the play calling away from Thomas Brown, offensive coordinator, whom was brought here with the promise that he would call plays, something that he was not doing in Los Angeles, something that all offensive coordinators, see Eric Bieniemy, by the way, left a great situation with the Chiefs so he could call plays, right? Feels like Thomas Brown's very similar to that, a guy who wanted to call plays, wanted to show that he has what it takes, right, to be that play caller on offense, that offensive genius. Frank Reich told him that he was going to give him that opportunity, gave him that opportunity after the bye week, and now a couple of weeks later is taking it away from him. Frank Reich will reassume play calling duties starting this week. I think it's a massive mistake.
100%. At least Thomas Brown's 1-1.
A massive mistake on many different levels.
Yeah.
Not just the fact that he will now be calling plays again when the offense maybe looked slightly better with him calling plays, but I don't think it has anything to do with the play caller.
No. I think
Thomas Brown's 1 and 2. I think Thomas Brown's 1 and 2.
Well, 1 and 2, but
yeah.
I personally feel like it's a scheme that is wrong. I think you have a different style of players around. Now, Bryce Young could probably run this offense with the better players around him, but
Sure.
we are not this zone run scheme type of offense where we don't have the offensive line to spread them out every play, 3 and 4 wide receiver sets with one running back. It's just not working.
But he doubled down. He doubled down on that in an earlier press conference this week, saying that they were not going to be a smash mouth football team. That is not what they want to do. They want to run the more college-style offense because that's what Bryce Young was good at in college. Well, guess what? Bryce Young had a lot better players in college in relation to what he was going up against, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that his college players were better than his NFL players, but relatively they were, right? They're at the top of the heap when it comes to, and some of them I think were better, but yeah, Frank Reich is basically like, we're running our system. These players will run our system. And that, again, is just a massive mistake and honestly speaks to exactly why he should be fired.
100%. I'm sorry, but I am not going to put Drew Brees under a Michael Vick style offense, a Cam Newton style. And that right. I know that's a big difference, but I'm just saying that's kind of what he's saying with the offensive linemen and the receivers that we have. Mm-hmm. It's like, no, dude, you got to adjust. You got to see what they do best. Okay. I think Bryce Young is smart enough to be able to run a smash mouth football team. Run that play action. Get him off. Get him on those bootleg play actions, you know. He does have ability to run himself. Like, what? I just don't get it. Like,
yeah. I agree with you. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And that's why we're losing football games.
I was about to say something, and I want to apologize for this joke. But is CTE catching up to Frank Reich?
Well, I who knows? But regardless of what the reasoning is for his decision making, the decisions he's making are wrong.
Yeah.
And to pull play calling away when you're we're 1-8, 1-9, whatever we are at this point, to pull play calling away from the guy that you brought in with the promise of giving the play calling to is just, I mean, it's kind of mean. Like, just whatever else it is, it's not the right way to do things. You're not going to turn the season around by running the exact same plays that you're running now, just maybe in a slightly different order. You're right. Like, Frank Reich won 0 games as play caller.
And it was very predictable. It was It was a offensive playbook of 12 plays. I mean, it was very simplistic. It was run up the middle every first down.
Yeah.
It was spread offense constantly that couldn't get anything going. It was just, I don't know. I at this point,
it was boring, and it hasn't. It's not like it's gotten 10 times better with Thomas Brown. It's the same plays. It's the same playbook. And Frank Reich said in his press conference that they're still going to collaborate on the game plan. It's just going to be a different play caller. Well, you know what did improve with Thomas Brown as the main play caller?
Penalties?
I thought penalties went down. Delay of games and stuff went down. And I think that was a direct result of Frank Reich being able to focus on that sort of thing instead of having to pull double duty.
And I also thought, I know the offense did not look good under Thomas Brown, but I also felt like some of the creativity was different. It felt like the playbook was opened up a little bit more. Instead of those 12 plays, it felt like 24. I mean, yeah. I don't want to say, expand, that looked night and day, but I felt like they went deep a little bit more. They played a little bit different instead of constant screens and run up the middles.
Yeah, and they weren't successful, really, at almost any of it, but it did seem like there was an effort being made to do something different, right? Mm-hmm. And there was a report that came out that David Tepper, is frustrated by the offense and wants more productivity from that unit. That he's happy with the defense, but he wants more from the offense. Which, welcome to the club, David Tepper. We that's the way we've all felt since the preseason. Since preseason week 1, when we were told that we were running this really vanilla game plan. Well, it turns out that was the game plan.
Yeah.
This entire time, right? Nothing has changed. And in fact, this team looked so much better in training camp than they have ever looked when actually playing games. Which, there's no real defense in training camp, but it's just, it feels like it's desperation. It is. Frank Reich is desperate to save his job at this point. I think that I would not be surprised if during that conversation with Frank Reich, Tepper made it clear that if something didn't change,
he was gone.
That something big is going to change, right?
Yeah, and it wouldn't shock me, especially I know it's early. It's still like his first season. It would not shock me if he got fired in the first season during the season. I know
it would. I don't see that happening. That rarely ever happens.
I agree. It rarely happens, but I could just see it on his face being just like, you know what? Give Evero the chance. Thomas Brown, you create the offense. You have full reins.
There's something to that.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like, it can't be worse because he did it last year and it got better. And he made the wrong choice of hiring Frank Reich, who refuses to understand the style of players he has. So
yeah, and of course, being such a bad season and being like this entire from the draft on, Panthers fandom has sort of been split in two, right? Mm-hmm. Like just from moment one of Frank Reich being here. I mean, first it was Frank Reich or Steve Wilkes. Right? That was kind of the two main camps. Well, actually, it wasn't even Frank Reich. It was Steve Wilkes and anybody else, right? And then it was Bryce or CJ Stroud or Anthony Richardson. And, it just like down the line, it's been discourse. And that happens when you have a losing football team, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if Steve Wilkes would have come in here and done anything different, but I can tell you that I do think the players on the team would be different, right? The coaching staff would be very different. I think a lot would be different. And because it's so bad right now, I think by default it would be better.
I think the players played for Steve Wilkes. I don't think they care much for Frank Reich. I think that game in Indianapolis showed that they didn't give it to.
Well, yeah. That was ugly, and this week I think is going to be even uglier. But it may not be as ugly because. Did you have something else you wanted to say?
I was going to say, unlike Bryce Young, who I felt like the team kind of rallied around to play really hard for. I will say that, I don't think Bryce Young is the guy that is the problem.
No,
I do want to. I keep wanting to preface that. Now, is he right now as good as C.J. Stroud now? But I do think he could still be this franchise quarterback we wanted.
There's a lot of reasons why he's not playing as well as C.J. Stroud. A lot of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say most of those reasons come down to scheme and players around him.
Yep.
Right. Those are the two main reasons. So yeah, and I think that's, you get a guy like, you give up what you give up. You have a guy that you feel like is your franchise quarterback, and David Tepper, by all accounts, loves him. Was pushing for him to be the draft pick. I don't think you can go 2 seasons with this staff.
I don't either. I don't think you could go the full season with Frank Reich ahead. He looks lost. He's acting lost. And if this offense kicks out 10 points this game, I would not be shocked if he's let go. Fitterer needs to be let go. Frank Reich needs to be let go, and let Evero take over. I feel like
you've been saying this for weeks though. Like
that was last week.
Fitter's gone next week. Fitter's gone, and then he's still here.
No, last week was the first week I said that to you, but I
I don't see them firing Frank Reich, especially not next week. Here's one of the reasons why, and you actually kind of put this in my head, is when we talked about firing Frank Reich after one season, and a lot of the reasons why you might not do that is because are you going to be able to get another coach in here when you're showing that you're just going through coaches, right? You've been owner of the Panthers for 5 or 6 years. This is now going to be your 4th head coach hire, right? Job stability doesn't seem like that guaranteed of a thing, right?
No, I still agree with that. It's just, I think,
but it might be a reason why you give him the full year.
It might be, but I also think that Evero was such a hot young coaching candidate last offseason that he could play it off as, I wanted to see what he had. Frank Reich obviously could not. I wanted to see what Thomas Brown could do. And I agree with you. Myself, I guess, because I said that before.
Right.
But I will say that there is a legitimate understanding of that.
Mm-hmm. And if you let him go the full season, Tepper might say, well, look, man, I gave him every shot he could. He obviously just didn't have it in him, and we had to let him go. But I gave him the full season just to give him every opportunity to turn it around. But I do like your idea of, make Evero the head coach, give Thomas Brown full control. I think it would probably be Evero. Mainly because he is kind of one of those up-and-coming hothead coaches. And if he does, make the team look better somehow, then maybe you give him the job, the full-time job, right?
I mean, Thomas Brown is already under contract. I mean, if you give him full reins of the offense, you never know.
Yeah, right. So I agree. I think there are reasons why maybe it would make sense to fire Frank Reich. I think there are reasons just from a business standpoint why you maybe keep him around for the year. So it could go either way. Personally, I'd like to see him fired yesterday because this obviously is not working. The players are not responding to Frank Reich at all. And we even saw it from his opening press conference where certain players did not, get up to shake his hand. Right? Like, we saw it from day one where there seemed to be some, consternation, for lack of a better word, of the direction that Tepper went hiring the head coach. When you had the kind of the favorite in the clubhouse, everybody loved Steve Wilkes. He was here. Guy that has put in his dues, guy that did a great job as an interim head coach. And you kind of just didn't respect him and tossed him out for old trash for a guy that had just failed in his previous job. So it's tough, man, but Tepper's they got to do something because this is not fun and it's not going to get any better anytime soon.
Yep.
So, but it might get better on the field pretty soon, Jerry, because there's a couple of guys we might be getting back.
Yes, there is. Designated to return from IR is J.C. Horn and Ian Thomas. Your favorite.
Hey, don't care about Ian Thomas, but I am happy about J.C. Horn coming back because he good.
Yeah. Those 2 quarters he's going to play are going to be really good.
They're going to be impressive quarters. I mean, we could really use him this week, honestly. Like,
yeah.
That the Cowboys have decent skill position players, so it would be
CeeDee Lamb is really good.
He's
Michael Gallup's good. Like,
I actually would really enjoy watching J.C. Horn, a healthy J.C. Horn against CeeDee Lamb. I think that would be a fun matchup. It would at least be something interesting to watch, as the rest of the Cowboys are just putting up points left and right. But I think that would be a fun matchup. And if Dante Jackson plays as well as he played last week, there could be something there, at least from a defensive cornerback perspective.
Yeah, I mean, our secondary is not bad. It's just
the defense has not been the problem this year.
No, I was gonna say even the run defense has gotten better since I started knocking them. But at what point does the defense just struggled because the offense can't put up points or 3-and-outs, and
usually in the second half. That's when we see the breakdowns.
We've seen this for 3 years now, so
yeah, that's when we see the breakdowns. But seriously, Ian Thomas has zero effect on this game.
No, I agree. No, I think
don't care. I don't care about his blocking. I don't give a shit. Like he sucks. He's a bad player. He needs to go.
Trimble and Sullivan, I think, have.
And Hurst. Don't forget Hurst. Although Hurst might not play, he's hurt. But yeah. Sullivan, man, I like Sullivan.
He's interesting.
See more Sullivan. Yeah, I want to see more Sullivan.
Moving on. We gotta move on. We're like
we got one more piece of news here.
Panthers released offensive guard Throckmorton, and Tennessee Titans already picked him up.
Addition by subtraction?
No, I felt like Throckmorton has been the best offensive guard that has been in that rotation. That's not saying much. Zavala has been arguably the worst guard
better than
I've
Zavala
ever. And
he's been playing better than Zavala.
Mays has been
excuse me. I heard somebody had an interesting idea.
What?
Is it you take Cade Mays, you put him at center, you slide Bozeman over to guard, and you got Corbett and Bozeman at guard. You got Cade Mays at center. I kind of like it.
If Bozeman could do that, that'd be awesome.
He's played guard a lot in his career.
Before,
yeah,
but he hasn't played it in like 3 or 4 years. So it is a.
Yeah, but is he going to be worse than Throckmorton or freaking Zavala? I can't imagine.
Yeah, I can't imagine that either.
Can't imagine he'd be worse.
And then you also got Bozeman to at least assist Cade Mays with play like the O-line calls.
Sure. And then if you have to, you slide him back over and whatever. But yeah, Throckmorton, I'm not going to miss him. He wasn't good. He had like one decent game, but everything else has just been terrible. So, all right. We are not going to go over the PFF grades from last week, mainly because we don't want to do that to ourselves. We don't want to do that to you guys. So we'll be back with the game preview in mere moments.
And we are back, and you have some trivia for me this week.
Yes. You've stepped up recently with the trivia. We forgot about it for a few weeks, and then you remembered and have done it for the last couple of weeks. So I have some for you. So I have 4 questions for you.
Okay.
You know how I like to do the multiple questions. All right. First question, and this is all Panthers Cowboys related. In what year did the Carolina Panthers and Dallas Cowboys first face each other in a regular season game?
1995?
Good gosh. Good God. Did you get October 8th, 1995. Cowboys won the game 27-20. Which player holds the record for the most passing yards in a single game between the Panthers and the Cowboys?
Steve Berline.
Not necessarily a Panthers quarterback.
Oh. Well, I said Steve Berline, and he's Panthers, so I'm assuming it's going to be Cowboys.
Your deduction skills are legendary, my friend.
Quincy Carter?
Tony Romo.
Yeah, that makes more sense. I thought it was going to be an obscure name, so...
Nope. Tony Romo threw for 337, October 21st.
Only 337? That's pretty impressive, as that's the high for the total.
And it was a low-scoring game, 19-14 Cowboys. All right. This one kind of surprised me. When was the most recent postseason game between the Panthers and Cowboys? And bonus points if you can tell me the final score. For those listening, Jerry is thinking.
Oh, I am sorry. Yeah, this is a horrible media content for a podcast. And I was like...
It's great if you don't pause for 25 seconds.
All right. 2013.
Most recent postseason game. 2004. Right? It feels like almost 20 years ago. Panthers won 29-10.
I feel like
Last
every
question.
postseason, I felt like we always ended up facing them somehow.
Okay, here's a bonus question that's not on my list. How many times have the Panthers played the Cowboys in the postseason?
It must only be like 3.
2.
Wow, really 2?
Yeah. It's like 97 and
No, it's not
2004, I
97.
think.
It was 2002 or 2003 when we went to the Super Bowl because I went to that game.
Yeah, it was 2004 was that year.
Is it? Was
Because
it
the
4?
Super Bowl is technically 2004.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
So the year before, it was either 97 or 99 was the first year. But
Okay.
Panthers 2-0 against the Cowboys in the postseason. All right, final question. Which Carolina Panthers player holds the record for the most rushing yards against the Dallas Cowboys in a single game?
I'm thinking, guys. I'm thinking. We have some great running backs, but I'm gonna go obscure, and I'm gonna go Fred Lane.
Oh, I like your thought process. Deshaun Foster.
Deshaun.
2005, he rushed for 132 yards in a Panthers 24-20 victory. All these games kind of close. So, will this one be close, Jerry? Is the question that I have for you, and I will answer it for you. No, it will not be.
Especially according to the betting odds, which have Dallas up currently 10.5-point favorites, which doesn't really shock me at all.
It feels low. It feels low.
The way the Panthers
the over-under is 42. So they do not have a lot of faith that the Panthers are going to score points in this game.
They're expecting it to be a, 30-10 game?
30-10, yeah.
Something like that.
25-15, something like that. Yeah, I guarantee you they don't think the Panthers will score 20. So,
right,
honestly,
do I think the Panthers will score over 13 points?
Why should you? Why should you? Why should you think that the Panthers would score 2 offensive touchdowns in this game? The only way they score more is if they have a decent defensive score.
I'm willing to actually take the under on the over-under because how abysmal the Panthers' offense has been. And how good Dallas's defense actually is. I think the Panthers' defense can hold Cowboys in check for the quarters or the half or so, and then when they get tired, Dallas is going to start running the ball. Tony Pollard's going to have some break-off games and score 20-something points.
Yeah, you're not stealing a beer from me. I'm not taking that bet. All right, let's go to the injury report here. So every single player that is on the Dallas Cowboys injury report is listed as a full participant in practice. So Rico Dowdle, Velami Fiocco, I don't know, Peyton Hendershot. I like that name, Peyton.
Dude,
Hendershot.
that is a strong name,
right? Any name with "shot" at the end of it, I feel like is good.
Yeah.
Jordan Lewis, Osa, defensive tackle, Jalen Tolbert, Cavante Turpin. So those are your injured Cowboys. Although again, all of them listed as full practice. Going to the Panthers, Hayden Hurst, DNP with a concussion. Taylor Moton, DNP, rest / knee. So he's probably okay. The next few players here are limited participants in practice. Also Deshaun Williams, DNP. Austin Corbett, Marquise Haynes, C.J. Henderson, J.C. Horn, Laviska Shenault, Ian Thomas, Xavier Woods. All listed as limited practice. The good news is J.C. Horn, listed as limited practice. I feel like that's good, right?
Yeah, it
would be better if it was full, but maybe tomorrow. Shenault back, practicing is good. Henderson back practicing is good. So, you got some guys coming back. And then Burns, Chark, and Sullivan all listed as full practice. Of course, with Burns' concussion, that's a very good sign that he's
full participant. Again, yeah, I feel like he's going to be back this week if he's already.
Yeah. Agreed. He should be, hopefully. I feel like he might even could have played last week, but Reich just wasn't going to put him in that position, which is probably the good thing to do. Yeah, on a short week.
Short week. You got a star. I honestly, I don't care if you're a star player. If you have a concussion, you take the extra time. Yep.
Yeah, agreed.
So
agreed. All right, keys to the Panthers' victory. Jerry, there's nothing listed on our sheet for keys to the Panthers' victory.
Hey, I was not home today until very late, so
I feel like it's accurate. Is what I'm saying.
So I do apologize. This wasn't the fully thought out game plan or outline I typically do in research, but honestly, I didn't really want to research this one anyways. But I'm gonna go ahead and say protect Bryce Young because
that's always on the list.
Micah Parsons, the guy I feel like we should have drafted instead of J.C. Horn, is a premier defensive player and pass rusher. You gotta keep Bryce Young away from him.
I don't see how they do it.
I don't either. I don't
see how they do it. And if they do, then where has this performance been all season long, right? Like, I feel like that's where we're going to end up if the Panthers do somehow play well in this game. But yeah, I mean, let's just keep Bryce off the injury report. Like, that should be number one. And honestly, if they start hitting Bryce hard and he struggles to get up one time, yank him. Take him right out. Put Dalton in there. Let Dalton take the punishment.
I hate saying that because, Dalton has done nothing but the good things here in Carolina.
I know, but he's not the future of the franchise.
No, I agree. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I mean, this is what he's here for. So put him in there. But, yeah, I mean, as much as I want to see Bryce play and continue to get better, I don't want to see him get hurt. So, and that's a tough defense to go against.
In my opinion,
offense is struggling.
You really just have to do what Frank Reich doesn't want to do. He doesn't want to be a Spanish Mouth team, and I think this team needs to be a Spanish Mouth team to protect Bryce.
He's not going to do it. I am curious to see what he does do, because I do think with him making this big show of pulling the play calling back, that they are going to try some different things this week. I mean, it would be ridiculous if they didn't.
Well, guess what? Even
more ridiculous than this season has already been.
We didn't discuss this before. Do you want to do a beer bet on this? We'll do like a fan survey if they try difference.
I mean, I think we can tell. I think we'll be able to tell.
Okay. And if there is an argument,
and if there's a disagreement, yeah, we can see. But let's do it. I think that
beer bet of the week.
I think the Panthers will look different on offense in terms of things that they are trying to do.
Play calling, yes, and
yes.
that's all we say. We're not saying success, because I don't think either one of us believes Frank Reich can have success because he doesn't seem to want to change. I think he's still going to run the ball up the middle on spread formations, first down and 10, 80% of the time. I think he's going to continue to run the spread formation and throw the ball 30 to 40 times and run the ball 20 times. That seems to be his MO. So
I think we see more RPO in this game, which we haven't seen much of at all, because I think they're scared of Bryce getting hit. But I think we're going to see more of it in this game. Just in terms of things that are different, right? I think we're going to see that. I think we'll see some deep shots that we haven't seen. I think they're going to go to Chark twice, I'll say. Deep down the field, right?
Oh, I just thought you meant
let me finish.
And I was like, that's still going to be his
that would still
high.
Be over. That'd still be an over, yeah. So yeah, I think you see some different things in this game. I don't think that they will be successful, but I do think that they will try. So
okay,
we'll see that. But all right, so that's the beer bet of the week. Let's just go straight to predictions. I mean, what are the other keys here? Like, score some points, be good on third downs. Like, it's the same stuff every week, and the Panthers don't do it. So let's just hope that something changes, but it won't. Bold predictions. I feel like saying Chark is going to get 2 targets is pretty bold, but I will do a different one. I think that Bryce Young will throw the ball 60 times in this game. That is my prediction.
Adam Thielen goes for 150 receiving yards. Is that bold enough?
Yeah, because it's probably going to be on like 25 catches. So
Exactly.
Congratulations. That gets both of us closer to our predictions. All right, game predictions. Jerry, how bad are the Panthers going to lose this one?
I'm taking the under of 46. I think it was 42. Yeah, so I'm gonna say 27. I think the Panthers defense holds them in check for most of the game, and then in the end, it kind of the dam burst. Yeah. What did I say? 24, 27, 10.
27-10. Okay, you got there eventually. I think that unfortunately the dam is going to burst a little early in this game. Just nothing about this week feels good. Other than J.C. Horn may be coming back, but even still, he might be a week away. This week just feels bad. I don't like from a karma perspective of Frank Reich taking the play calling back. It just doesn't feel right. I just saw a cattail. It doesn't feel right that he basically shunned Keep Pounding by saying that they were not going to be a smash mouth football team. That wasn't what they were trying to be. So yeah, I think the Panthers lose this one 42-17. I think it's a bad one, unfortunately.
Well, if that happens, I will probably intoxicated when I talk to you because I don't want to watch that sober.
Hey, that makes 2 of us, buddy. All right, we don't know what the NFC South games are, or did you pull them up?
I did not pull them up.
All right,
I mean,
so
let
the
me
NFC
pull
South
them up
play
real
some
quick.
games this week.
Let
me guess. I'll guess the Falcons play. That's a dumb game. You got 30 options.
Okay, we have the Tampa Bay Bucks facing the 49ers, so Christian McCaffrey gets to beat them up again.
Good. I'm going to go Niners.
Yeah. I don't think the Saints and the Falcons are playing. They must have the bye.
I thought you just said it. Oh, you said the Bucks. Okay. That makes it easy then.
Yeah.
By the way, the NFC South sucks. We were right about that. Right? We were right about that in our prediction show.
If we were halfway decent, we would still be in this thing.
Someone's going to win the division with 9 wins. At most. Maybe 8.
It's Atlanta. I think Atlanta has the best coaching, and I think that's what's going to win it. I think they had one of the worst quarterbacks in the division.
They have the best coaching, but their coaching is not good. But they do have better coaching than the Saints and the Bucks.
Exactly.
It's like D-, D-, D+, right?
It's, Derek Carr's obviously the best quarterback in the league in the division right now.
Sliding scale. Yeah. Baker Mayfield does not look terrible. No. He has not looked like a first round pick, but he's not looked terrible.
He has not looked like Josh Dobbs, but he has looked like, a Cleveland Browns Baker Mayfield, where he shows flashes, but
Would you trade for Josh Dobbs?
No. The problem isn't the quarterback.
Would you trade Bryce Young for Josh Dobbs and Justin Jefferson?
Ooh, that is an interesting one.
Just straight up.
Because I think Justin Jefferson... Well, then you got to... I don't think Josh Dobbs...
You got to pay Jefferson, yeah, but... that's a guy to pay.
Oh, yeah. That's a no-brainer, in my opinion. I think if you're Minnesota, you just back up the Brinks truck and just say... or hands him a blank check that says... So this is what the current best wide receiver is getting paid. How much more do you want to go? Let's be reasonable, though. Would be my comment.
Yeah. I mean, you're not going to get 40, but maybe a little less than that. We can talk about it. We can talk, especially if we're not paying Josh Dobbs a lot of money. I don't know. I think I make that trade. And I feel pretty great about it.
The only reason why I wouldn't do it is because you're still going to need a quarterback.
I know, and again, it's nothing against Bryce Young. I still think he could end up being very good, but I mean, I think Josh Dobbs is pretty good.
I think Josh Dobbs has shown that he has abilities that...
And he's showing what he can do with talent. Because I don't think he's played with... I know he hasn't played with this kind of talent before.
Oh. When was he with the Steelers?
Well, I mean, he wasn't the starter.
I felt like he started with them. I mean, he's 28 years old.
Right.
So let's look at his games he started. Previous to this year.
By the way, guys, feel free to check out anytime. We're just talking at this point.
This is what started the podcast, to be honest with you.
Number one option this week amongst quarterbacks that are available in 50% or more of leagues, though, is Josh Dobbs, who is second
in those games.
I am sorry for all those video watchers. ESPN automatically plays stuff, so I couldn't.
That's fine. I just looked up. Always go to Pro Football Reference. Never go to ESPN for that. He started 2 games with Tennessee in 2022. 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But again, not the greatest talent in the world. And then he was with Arizona. Not the greatest talent in the world. Now he's with Minnesota. And he's looked excellent.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Maybe a guy that needed to be around players that make you look good. He's not a guy that's going to elevate people. He's no CJ Stroud, I'll tell you that much. But I think he's a guy that can win with talent. That was one last little shot for our Twitter followers out there.
Oh, man. It is so ridiculous out there on internet land.
Here's what I don't like. And again, this is to the 3 people listening. I don't like that Panthers fans are having to somehow put down CJ Stroud,
like he's
to make them feel better about Bryce Young. Like CJ Stroud, yes, he's in a technically better situation, but go look at the stats of the players that he's playing with before he got there this year. They have not been superstars. Now you've got like 3 of them looking like Pro Bowlers. The offensive line looks like the best offensive line in the country, right? I think CJ Stroud might be one of those players that elevates team members around him. Now, D'Amico Ryans and that whole staff is good, much better than our staff. They've put together, they're using his skill set properly, whereas Frank Reich has no idea, apparently, how to use Bryce Young.
Or any different players than what he needs or wants.
I just think it's fair to at least wonder if CJ Stroud's just not that guy. Just a really, really good quarterback. I think it's quite possible that he is. So
I definitely do.
He
had accuracy, he had speed,
He's looked great. He's looked amazing. And he's made the guys that are playing with him, Nico Collins, who has been an average, if not below average wide receiver. Noah Brown the last few games has never had a run like this, ever. Now they brought in Dalton Schultz, who looked good and continues to look good. But Tank Dell's a rookie, and he wasn't one of the top rookies selected in the draft. But he's looked like he should have been the number 1 pick in terms of wide receivers. So, I mean, I think he's just good, right? I think CJ Stroud is just good.
I did too. I mean, I liked him coming out of college. I really liked him until those, I remember we did him, and you're like, are you going to be upset if we don't pick CJ Stroud? And I go, well, I'll have to trust them, but yeah, I will be a little bit. And then those
the
S2 came out, and I was like, okay, I get it. Let's go
faked.
Bryce Young, and it wasn't
Right.
even supposedly as bad as we were led to believe.
Right. I think someone put that out there so we wouldn't take him. I mean, you hear about stuff like this all the time where other teams and other front offices are like they put out misinformation about players to try to drop them down the draft board. I just wonder who leaked it. What was the motivation? Right? Because the scores themselves shouldn't even have been put out there.
No.
And not let alone the guy that ran the tests says that the reports were wrong.
Yeah.
But he doesn't say it until, what, 4 or 5 days later? A week later? 2 weeks later?
Yeah, it was a while later.
Yeah. It felt like long enough for decisions to be made. Right? So, either way, go Panthers.
We want to thank everyone for listening, if you're still listening, because, we went off on a couple tangents. If you like the show, please let your friends know. Please follow us on Twitter at BeyondMakesPod. Excuse me. We're just letting this one fly. If you have any questions or comments, you can email us at mailbag@beyondmakespodcast.com and leave us a 5-star review with a comment on Apple Podcasts. We'll read it on the show. I need to actually check that. I haven't checked that in the last couple weeks. Please smash that like and subscribe button on YouTube. I did it. I remembered to say this.
I checked, Jerry. I checked, and there are no new 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. So, guys, come on. Just go do it. How many different Apple IDs do I need to make before you guys start doing them yourself? Just kidding. I did make a new one, though.
An Apple?
I did make a new one. Yeah.
Get that Apple Apple TV Plus free for a month or two.
Yep.
Hey, if you haven't watched Ted Lasso, very good show.
Oh, Ted Lasso's great. But they're going to start allowing side loading and alternate app stores in the UK. So I made a UK Apple ID. So when it starts, I can still do it. All right. We'll be back after the game to talk about the game. And until then, everybody stay safe out there and keep pounding.